Hello, wonderful people. Today, I want to discuss with you a topic that isn't really brought to the attention as much as I feel it should be in healthcare. And that topic is on the power of social relationships and human touch. So I've talked before about the biggest influence on overall mortality and how it isn't what most people think, with diet and with exercise being probably the thing that pops to mind most frequently. Actually, the number one predictor of outcomes for overall health and mortality risk are social connections and social economic factors. And knowing this, it is really surprising to me that these topics aren't getting more attention. And I feel it's really disheartening that the association between social support and health are not discussed in medical care or regular healthcare visits because of this potential for everyone to access them or to at least have an avenue to express where they need to get more support. And really, physicians as well as healthcare experts can be sort of that bridge. Recently, I did discuss this in a previous video about the relationship between cardiovascular care and how social support actually mediates the negative consequences of depression on heart health and also the mortality risks for people with chronic heart disease. There is a connection between the heart and the brain and the body. And really, one of the most powerful links is the social support system. So if you're in 2022, which is when this video is being recorded, you were probably in a catch-22 for a few years because we talked about the benefits of social connection and hugging, but there was this fear of contagion. And even if it wasn't discussed that much on social media or, in health expert blogs, many people felt it, a visceral response, this appreciation for what it was like before to have the ability to go out, to connect, to experience being around people and human touch, and then having that taken away. And for me, this caused an alarm bell to go off inside my naturopathic brain because I felt like at the time when the very thing that we most needed seemed literally out of reach was one of the most vital things that could also be supportive. But I also knew the situation that we were dealing with. So I became adamant about stressing the importance of paying attention to our mental health and integrative wellness. And it really got me on mind, body, and mindset, and the power of belief, and all of the things that we can do to help ourselves and take care of ourselves that are within our power and our reach. And I also discussed specifically how naturopathic medicine can help alleviate some of this burden with mental health by integrating in how we view holistically the mind and the body and the therapeutic relationships that we honor and hold with our patients and our clients. So now that we're coming out of one trauma, unfortunately, before when I was writing a post that accompanied this video and ready to shoot this video, we were getting ready to kind of come out of hiding, and there seemed to be things cooling down. And then the news media hit again, and the world happened, and people started to retreat again in fear in order to cope and to escape. And retreating and isolation are actually a form of protection that is natural for all mammals, but it might not be the most helpful, and it can lead to isolation and perpetuate emotional distress and physical outcomes that we don't want. For example, the CDC says that social isolation is linked to premature death from all causes. It's associated with a 50% increased risk of dementia. Poor social relationships are associated with a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke. Loneliness is associated with higher rates of depression, anxiety, and suicide. And among heart failure patients, it's associated with 4 times the increased risk of death. So really, I urge you to make it a point to safely go out and connect with whoever you can that's around you and with those that you love. Because I do feel right now we need this human connection and touch more than ever. And one of the things I want to kind of point out to you, because we haven't been able to talk about it that much, except now that more people are coming out and feeling more comfortable being around other people, is hugging and why you would want to hug. And there's 8 actually health reasons why we want to hug. So one of them is that it enhances comfort and connection. So when we give people supportive touch during times of distress, it not only can help reduce the stress of the person, but also the comforter. So when the researchers studied parts of the human brain associated with couples that were, I don't know how they set up this study, but one of them was getting unpleasant electric shocks. And they had the couple, the partner touch their arm in comfort. And this actually changed their brain biochemistry. So what this means is that when we hug someone or touch someone to comfort them, that these parts of the brains are likely to show a similar response of these reward systems in the maternal behavior, which is pretty cool. And then other researchers found that just hugging for 20 seconds can release oxytocin and used as a tool to boost connection and bonding with one's partner. Another benefit of hugging is that it can reduce sickness. At least in one study with over 400 individuals, they found that those with perceived social support and more hugs predicted less severe illness symptoms. So more specifically, these participants were actually placed in a room in quarantine after being exposed to a virus. And then they figured out, well, based on social support and controlling for other factors and hugging as well, these were the 2 things that showed if they were at a risk of infection, and those with more hugs and more social support had a decreased risk. So that's pretty cool. Another thing is that having more hugs and social connection, we know that's linked to cardiovascular health, and they've shown an association between the amounts of hugs someone gets and their blood pressure, right? So blood pressure goes down with the more hugs you get. It's been also shown to improve mood and brain health. So let's talk a little bit about this oxytocin, which is a hormone released with soothing touch. And it produces a lot of benefits on the emotional, mental, and social level. It's been linked to improvements in self-image, higher life satisfaction, and lower levels of depression. And also, we know that just the experience of touch actually impacts the brain, and it can affect cognition and mood. And studies have shown that our brain is hardwired to actually interpret and decode touch. And there's mechanical receptors and neural pathways of tactile stimulation. Okay, so that's a fancy way of saying that these pathways actually interact with cognitive processing. So when our brain experiences touch, the touch actually stimulates the brain and our cognitive processes. And there's been some studies that show that individual differences in perception and decoding touch may be linked to neurological and psychological disorders. So there's the connection between touch and brain health, and also with mood that I discussed with the oxytocin release. So all of these benefits of hugs, and we're only halfway through. It can also relieve stress and anxiety. Again, oxytocin can help relieve stress and enhance relaxation. And touch itself has been shown to reduce stress and even the hormone cortisol in some small studies. Touch has been shown to relieve pain. In a study with fibromyalgia patients, therapeutic touch was shown to improve pain and increase quality of life. And the cool thing was there was a small study about hugging yourself, which could potentially offset the sensation of pain. In that study, they used pinprick sensations with a laser and they generated pain in 20 participants. And the results showed that crossing the hands over the body's midline actually impaired the ability of the brain to localize the tactile stimulation. So basically, what you were doing with a self hug is confusing the brain so it didn't feel the pain, which is kind of cool. Not pain, hugs actually help with communication too. One study demonstrated that a stranger was capable of expressing a wide range of emotions just by doing various touch to different parts of the body. So we do communicate with the way that we interact with people by our touch. And it can also improve self-compassion. So we know that self-compassion has been linked to wellness benefits, including enhanced resilience in youth and reduced effects of trauma in veterans, specifically in studies. And according to the leading self-compassion researcher, Christian Neff, hugging, stroking, and physically comforting your body increases feelings of love and tenderness toward yourself. So the power of social connection, the power of hugging on top of social connection are really cool things. So when I ask you, are you getting your DDOH, which is your daily dose of hugs? Now, some experts say we need about 12 hugs a day, but some say get as many as possible. And we know that the Western world is particularly touch deprived, and most people live in solitary or lives are busy, and they have reduced social interaction or they're really attached to their screens more than other people. And I know that sometimes it's even in society today, maybe encouraged not to touch people because it could make them uncomfortable. But here's the thing, if we want to feel better about ourselves, reduce our stress, improve our communication, be happier, healthier, promote bonding, hugs could help. And especially if you get consent between the two people. If you feel nervous about getting hugs, you might want to start by talking to your family or friends that you're closest to. But science is basically saying that hugs do help our health. So social connections, promoting bonding with hugs, they all have benefits. And maybe you're in a space where you're not really that comfortable yet or you're still alone. Again, we saw some benefits with self-hugging for pain and for self-compassion. There's also a technique called the havening technique, which uses self-soothing self-touch to help relieve anxiety. We have the benefits of maybe getting a massage or having our little furry friends that we can pat and hug. I do still think the dual benefit of hugging someone with the power of social connection really can't be replaced. So it might be something that we all want to work out. Literally reach out and hug someone. And I hope that this makes you want to maybe call up somebody that you love or grab your kid or your husband or your partner and give them a big hug. And I hope that you found this information useful. I will have the links to the article that I wrote that accompanies this video in the video description. So you can check it out for the resources and references. And if you want to geek out on all of the science between the brain and oxytocin and the power of touch, it's pretty cool. I also will have additional resources available for you in the video description if you want to learn more about me and my methods on how I work with people as a naturopathic doctor and functional medicine practitioner, and how I love essential oils and what they can do for you. I have a free database, I have a free website, I have free resources, and I also have online courses you can take if you want to dive a little bit deeper into the essential oil world of mind, body, medicine, or take a little learning trip with me down Geek Lane. Okay, have a wonderful day or night whenever you're watching this, and I will be back real soon. Take care.